Good morning, A to Z Sports Nashville, live on a Wednesday morning. Hope everyone's having a great middle of their week. Happy hump day to everyone tuning in. We've got some Titans talk for you today. I'm Easton Freeze, he's JT Runke, and we are going to be discussing a pretty fantastic slate of press conferences yesterday from the Titans coordinators, plus offensive play caller Bo Hardigree, in which I won't say every single one of these Tuesday coordinator press conference sessions is groundbreaking. In fact, many of them aren't. This one, I walked away, and really all of us on the Titans beat walked away and back into the media workroom. And we were like, wow, that's a lot to digest. There's a lot there as this team is in flux, kind of on the brink in a number of ways, fighting for their lives to see if they can find their first win each and every week, fighting for their lives to see if the folks in charge are going to stay around each week. Amidst all of that chaos, speaking to the four gentlemen we spoke to yesterday, Bo Hardigree, Nick Holtz, John Fassel, and Denard Wilson, was a pretty interesting exercise, I think, in figuring out where each portion of this roster, of this team is right now. Maybe a little bit of talk about who clearly hasn't given up yet, because I felt like there was a pretty clear distinction on that front we'll get into. We're going to talk about what this team can do based on some comments yesterday that I thought were pretty enlightening to improve. Yes, we are, JT, today going to get back to some football talk, so I'm excited about that. I know a number of folks in the comments are excited about that. We're going to set aside for now. We're going to table the will they, won't they firing discussion, which was beaten like a drum yesterday on the morning show and the primetime show. So if you're craving that, there's plenty of content on the YouTube page for you there. But today we're going to dive into what this football team can do with, 13 games left on their schedule. It's a lot of football. So there's a lot of room for improvement. And as bad as this roster is, as fundamentally flawed as this roster is, as we've talked about, it's not just bad, it's also underperforming. And there are a number of veterans who we have seen better from. We know we can get better from. There are a number of young players who we're only expecting to improve as they get more reps. So with 13 games left in 2025, whether it's this coaching staff or some iteration of this coaching staff with an interim for the rest of the year, what kind of improvements can be made? I thought that John Fassel, kind of without prompting, gave us a clue into what this team should do starting this week to turn some things around. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Cam Ward as the Titans embark on a 2-week road trip out west, not actually staying out there, but they'll be going to Arizona and then to Vegas before coming back for their next home game against Mike Vrabel's Patriots in Nashville, which is sure to be entertaining in all of the most disgusting ways. What can Cam Ward do to take the next step? And we hear from his offensive coaches yesterday as well on that front. We'll discuss all of these things with you all in the comments. Looking forward to y'all's thoughts on the actual football and the actual football team. That is the name of the game for today's show. JT, I'm excited. Are you excited? Good morning, and tell the folks what they need to do.
Yeah, good morning, everybody in the chat. What's up, A to Z crew? Good morning to all of you here. Need a couple things from you guys before we get started. First of all, make sure you like the show. Whether you are watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, make sure you like the show. Make sure if you're on Facebook, make sure you're sharing that show as well. Share it with the Titans friend who is sick and tired of the will they, won't they conversation and wants to get back to the football, even if it is football that is being played as bad as the horrors beyond mortal man's comprehension. Anyway,
each day a new horror awaits.
Yes. Hey, it is spooky month. Maybe the Titans were just preparing us. Maybe they were giving us a little taste of what we can get in October. But yeah, excited.
Like we've got 30 straight days of it getting worse is what you're telling me right now. Is that was all an appetizer for what horrors await us.
Yes, exactly. But excited to be here with you guys this morning. We're back in the saddle. B Team Wednesdays.
No. It's Where's Austin Wednesdays.
Well,
where is Austin?
Spoiler alert, you're not going to see him tomorrow either.
So. No, but I mean, what's going on? This team decides to go right in the tank, and Austin decides that he's just out. I don't,
Jump ship. Yeah.
We haven't heard from him in 48 hours. We have no idea where he is or what he's doing. So, but we're just keeping the show afloat. So we'll see if he ever comes back. I honestly don't know.
I don't know, but good to see you guys. Make sure you like the show. Make sure you're subscribed. Let's get into it.
Yep, welcome into the A to Z Sports morning show on a Wednesday morning powered by BTA Sports. We're live every weekday morning at 8:10 Central Time, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at ATOZ Sports. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage and leave us a 5-star Google review for A to Z Sports. We are very appreciative of those. We got to thank our sponsors for making the show happen and helping out you guys at home. Wilson County Hyundai, make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine, boneandjointtn.org. Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solution for all of your insurance needs, local and online at bartondrury.com. Botero Carts, life is short. Buy a golf cart with 2 locations to serve you in Columbia and Gallatin, boterocarts.com. And Window Nation, buy 2 windows and you'll get 2 for free. Make no payments for 2 years on an extended deal. Window Nation, will tell you a little bit about this later on in the show, extending the 2 for 2 deal through October. Check them out at windownation.com. All right, JT. So we may be setting, somebody in the chat, go ahead and phone the Guinness Book of World Records, get an official on the horn and tell them to tune in. Because I think we might be setting a land speed record for the most clips from one day's worth of press conference shown on a morning show. We have all of the clips for you guys. And that's not just because we're trying to filibuster our way through an hour show. No. It is because there were a lot of interesting things said yesterday by this coaching staff. And we're going to start with what I think was, we joked a couple weeks ago, JT, an answer from, who was it? Cody Barton. We're like, this is the best answer anyone's ever given. And the bit was because you literally couldn't hear him over the ruckus in the Titans locker room. Well, I say in all sincerity, this is actually the best answer that I've heard, I think, from a coach or a player this year. It is a long answer, but it's worth playing in its entirety. We asked special teams coordinator John Fassel, hey, you came this year and took over a unit that last year was no bueno. Now is bueno. Not saying that you are better than the other coaches, but how have you come in and turned around your group and had success that other elements of this team have not had? Here was his answer.
I'm not saying I can't say it all that other people aren't. It's a good question, a tough question. I think I've tried to wrap our arms around the young guys, the rookies. We've talked about it before. We got a lot of new rookies that I think have been fantastic contributors. I can't speak on anything that happened here last year because I wasn't here, offense, defense, or special teams. So I've looked at this group and this opportunity as a fresh one, a new one. And I've tried to keep the schematic very simple, the competition and technique very high. And I think as the season goes, I think we're going to get better and better on special teams. Whatever we've been the first 4 weeks, people can think what they want, but I feel like we're going to get a lot better. The Houston game, from a coach's, if I can kind of go into it a little bit, from a coach's copy, Houston's got a very good special teams unit, very good special teams coach. So for us just to basically kind of go toe-to-toe, it was like a one-on-one game for us on special teams, almost for performance and for production, but almost for evaluation. I hate to say it, even during the course of a game, like, let's put our young guys out there and go compete against this really good special teams unit one-on-one and see what we got. And so sometimes that's been the goal a little bit too, is get our guys out there and fight one-on-ones and teach them what it looks like and teach them how to do it together. And I think maybe as a team for the Titans, one thing we can continue to work on and preach is a complementary football. How does a defensive 3-and-out or a takeaway get turned into points by the offense? And how does a great, kickoff cover, punt cover, turn a drive start from the -10 into a 3-and-out for the defense? And so I think one thing we got to work on as Titans as a team is just the complementary football part of it, and not like how does the special teams perform, offense perform, or defense perform as separate entities, but how do we all perform as like one unit, and how does one side of the ball feed off the other? And I think that's a huge part of pro football is not just the separate entities, but how does each team feed off the other? And if one team's maybe slacking a little bit, one side picks it up. Or if one team capitalizes, then the other face comes in and turns that capital into opportunity. So I know I'm going way too much in a tangent, but football is fascinating in the mold of complementary football. And I think when we get to that part where we can turn a turnover into a touchdown, and a big punt return into a touchdown, and a long drive into a field goal, which gives our defense rest, all those moving parts is going to help us win football games. Sorry for the long answer, but I love talking about that aspect of the game.
No, thank you for the long answer, floating head John Fassel. That was a fantastic rant that he went on. There's a lot there to unpack, JT. Generally speaking, and this is not even a shot at Brian Callahan, because we kind of were talking amongst ourselves about this weeks and months ago. I think in an NFL era gone by, John Fassel would have made a pretty fantastic head coach from a motivator standpoint, from a leader of men standpoint. I'm not going to say that he couldn't do it now. I'm not going to say that he couldn't be the interim if and when Brian Callahan is fired. That's something that people are talking about, and I think reasonably so. To me, it would either be Fassel or Mike McCoy, and I don't know who would want it or who would be better at it, or whether either of them would want it, frankly. I'm not sure how attractive the idea of taking over this team is right now, but I was really impressed by that answer.
Yeah, I was too, and I like what Bork said, because to that point, you could also see yesterday in the press conference, we're not going to get too much into this, but the guys who clearly feel like there's still a long way to go, and the guys who have not thrown in the towel, and guys who pretty much kind of know it's over, and from their demeanor did not really come out and give the same type of press conference that we're normally used to. I will say for Fassel's case, and this is where Bork comes in, saying we're connecting the threads like Swifties, except it's the Titans' future positions once the firing does happen. Fassel is the guy, he's already building his campaign in the perception of the media.
Right.
As Zenny says, Bones Fassel, new head coach confirmed. But
Halloween,
yes,
too. All right.
On Halloween.
That's the grand finale of the Titans spooky season.
Yeah. I absolutely, I really do like what he had to say there, because it goes to show how much the vibe has shifted and what that can do for a special teams unit that looked absolutely just dead in the water last year, to now being revitalized. And I will say, there is a point to where it probably does bring a different message for the players, because we talked about it all the way leading up into the regular season. Bones Fassel is a guy who will not say a single bad thing about a player, right? It is positivity all the time. When you talk about the execution side of that, I think he gives you straight, blunt answers into what they need to do. And it's no more of pushing those daisies and things like that. Just spewing sunshine all over this team, right? It is a guy who certainly takes his job in the highest regard, and that's the energy that this Titans team needs right now. It's a team. It's a guy that, if all else fails, is going to continue to live and die by his principles, and that's a good thing for this Titans team to have right there.
I agree with everything you just said. I don't know if anybody else caught the crazy Freudian slip that you just let out. You meant pushing sunshine and flowers and rainbows and happiness. You said pushing daisies, which means death.
No.
But you know what? Frankly, fitting for this team. I want to kind of talk about what you touched on briefly, the idea of there being a different energy from these four guys and it feeling pretty clear. Let's just call balls and strikes for a moment. John Fassel and Denard Wilson, who we're going to play a clip from Denard here in just 1 second, they sound like guys that are coaching for the next 13 games. They sound like guys that really genuinely believe in the process that they're still in the middle of implementing, believe in their guys, and believe that this thing can, define turnaround. Can this team compete to go to the playoffs still? I don't think they feel that way, but I do think that they feel like the stated goal of this season being progress and a youth movement and seeing a clear trajectory for this team to propel itself into 2026 with. I do think that they genuinely feel all of that is still happening. The practice habits are good. The building culture is good. And I'm not saying that they're right about that, by the way. I'm just saying I think the belief is there. Nick Holtz, who we'll hear from in a minute, he sounds like he's done with this team. He just does. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And I tweeted this yesterday. If I were Nick Holtz, I would be quietly pretty jaded with the Titans organization as a whole, based on the last 2 weeks or so, based on not just the fact that, the offensive coordinator for a group that stinks, and in general, it's depressing and you feel like you're going to lose your job, but more than that for Nick in particular. And I'm not even saying that, like he's blameless in his capacity as a coach, but he did, whether you like him as a coach or not, get totally shafted narratively through all of this. And I'm not, I can only speculate as to whose decision it was to take play calling away from Callahan. I can only speculate as to whose decision it was to then give that play calling to Bo Hardigree instead of Nick Holtz. Do I think it was Brian Callahan who decided either of those things? No, I do not. But I will never know that for sure, and you will never know that for sure. What I will say is that if I'm Nick Holtz and I saw how they totally screwed me with the narrative, making it look like I was a total buddy hire, I'm good for nothing. What exactly is it that you do around here? I mean, that was a question that was literally asked of him in his press conference yesterday, and he answered as best he could without being too miffed by it. But it's kind of I guess it could be a good thing in the long run, because if I had to define Nick Holtz's tenure with the Titans, I would define it as plausible deniability, because nobody still is sure what he does around here. And so in his next stop, once all of this ends, whether that's soon or in a couple of months, he can make a case to potential future employers like, I told him not to do that. Well, I didn't do that. I mean, you think they listen to me around there? Clearly not. He doesn't have to carry the stink of this team with him. So I guess in the long run, that could be a good thing for him. But I would not be upset at all, or I would not be surprised at all if he's not very pleased with the way that this has gone, and he's already done. And the way that he acted at the press conference yesterday wasn't bad behavior by any means. But I think if you were reading the tea leaves, he sounded like a guy that is just kind of a here so I don't get fined kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, now correct me if I'm wrong. Did Bo go first yesterday?
Yep.
So you talk to the play caller, and then you get carted out there afterwards, after the guy who's actually calling the plays.
Yep.
Kind of.
We didn't have a whole lot of questions for him.
Yeah, it's at this point. I think the only question that you could have asked was the one that was asked. What exactly do you do here? Type thing. And it was a rough. I jokingly tweeted out like poor Nick Holtz, because yes, at the end of the day,
on a personal level, I feel bad for him. I would be furious if I were him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
Which
I think
says nothing to whether or not he's a good coach. I'm not saying like he's actually this great coach. If only they'd let him spread his wings. I'm not saying that. I'm saying personally, I think they screwed him.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think he explained what he does as well as you possibly could. And the fact that people
Agreed.
still don't understand that, I think just goes to another issue of like, I don't think people like really wrap their heads around how a NFL team is put together on a week by week basis for
Yes.
a play calling and a getting themselves ready for a new opponent type way. Like, I think people just think that, they go there, they practice, and that's it. All right, we're ready. Like, we know what we're doing on the practice field. Like, there's so many.
This was the rub of the tweet yesterday that for some reason got me in trouble with the Twitter trolls when I said I think when you fire the head coach, you also are going to be looking for an interim offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. And everybody's like, great, who cares? Those guys stink. What are you trying to convince us not to fire Callahan? No. What I'm saying is somebody's got to do those jobs. Like, people are like, okay, so what? This team don't even need an offensive coordinator. They got Bo Hardigree. Nick Holtz does do things during the week that somebody will have to do if he's no longer here.
Yeah,
somebody has to install the base defense. Somebody has to script the offense. I'm not saying that it's impossible to find someone to do that. I'm just saying we should all, I think, be thinking about like, what are the roles going to look like? Who's going to do that now?
And it's so funny because, like, once again, going back to the point that like I don't, and it's like it's hard for people to know without being there, like to know exactly how a operations works on a day-to-day basis in the I guess in the facility, in an NFL facility. However, like if you got rid of him, right? that means somebody else has to essentially take what's from every single position meeting, put it together in the actual offensive base offense, go over it with all the players. Like, Bo cannot do that if Nick Holtz was gone, right? Bo still has responsibilities to be present with Cam at all times, and now also be getting ready for what Nick Holtz is installing as the base offense, and then also scheming up the style of plays that they want to, execute on that given day.
Yeah.
You also talk, so like Cam Ward in the comments here says, so why do you think? No, but this is the point. Bo could do that. Bo is not the OC. Bo is the quarterback's coach. His duty is to Cam Ward on a day-to-day basis. He is not going to be installing a base offense. He may still be calling the plays on game day, but in that room, when it's not all the offense, he is with the quarterbacks. You take that away, then you have to find a new You have to find a new quarterback.
Daniel's not even wrong. Bo, I'd imagine Bo can do that. But are we not focused on Cam Ward? Like, is that not still
exactly.
none of this is cope for the coaching staff. Everything at this point for me is focused on how do you best serve Cam Ward, because that is your ticket out. And I don't think it's best serving Cam Ward to take the guy that Cam himself has espoused as his guy, the guy that is single-handedly trying to develop Cam Ward from a fundamental standpoint, the guy that's in his ear, his quarterback coach, away from him during the week to be the OC. I don't think that's good for Cam. I don't. We've gotten off track here, and I want to get the audience involved. You guys are funny in the chat. We've been reading through all of these things that you guys pontificating what exactly Nick Holtz does around here. We'll move on from that. Nick did give a couple of good answers we're going to get to with clips here in a minute on Cam and on the screen game and some things. But back to the Fassel clip where he kind of volunteers that bit at the beginning of the clip. We asked him, how did you do this? How did you turn this around? And he just kind of espoused his general coaching philosophy with this team, which was, I tried to keep the schematic simple and I tried to keep the competition high. That simplicity, that jumped out to me. And I do think there's some element of that with the resurgence, the return to normalcy for this special teams unit, which is like, as we have down here on the screen, KSS, keep it simple, stupid. And we're going to play a clip from Jerry Wilson where he references that idea, keeping it simple, stupid, because I asked him following that answer from Bones Fassel about this idea of simplicity. And if that's something that this Titans team can go ahead and change. Let's go ahead and put that question in the chat, JT, because I want folks to be able to answer. And we're going to read through your answers to the question of what can the Titans improve by simplifying things? We're talking about football improvement, 13 games left. Is simplification something that you think can improve elements of this football team? And if so, what? We want to hear your thoughts on that. We're going to hear from Denard Wilson on simplicity following me telling you all about our friends at Botero Carts. Life is short. Go buy a golf cart with our friends at Botero Carts in Gallatin and in Columbia. They are locally owned and operated, a full-service sales and rental dealership here in the Middle Tennessee area. Their carts start at just under $6,800. They're open 7 days a week, and they have 0% financing on 36 months for your golf cart. No dealer fee, no credit card fees, no credit option needed. Indoor storage for their carts. Again, 2 locations in Columbia and in Gallatin, so no excuse not to find one near you. Check them out if you want a golf cart, because life is short and you should buy a golf cart. You should do it with our friends at Botero Carts.
Yeah, also shout out to our friends at BTA Sports. BTA Sports, better for betters. Guys, the September deal is over. You missed your window because now we are into the month of October, but it's okay. We still got you. Use the link below in the show description or on Facebook right below the title to get a free 14-day trial when you use that link, or use code ATOZ to get that 14-day free trial. And then after that, it is $9.99 a week to use the insight that the BTA Sports analytical models bring to us every single week to make our bets more informed, to make our bets smarter. Easton, I know it's been a long 2 weeks in the NFL betting space, in the NFL betting universe.
Hey, we've been here before.
Yes, we have.
As veterans, we've been here. It's nothing new.
I will say, BTA has gotten me out of, made a bad situation look just a little better, I will say, and save some face. So make sure you use that code link in the description right below the show title or in the YouTube show description.
So the question we're asking is, what can the Titans improve by simplifying things? How can the Titans keep it simple, stupid? And in what parts of their game do we think maybe some simplification would help out as they try to improve on this upcoming road trip? While you guys are answering that, we'll get to the comments here in just a second. I'm going to play this clip from Jerry Wilson. I asked him about simplifying things and what he thinks his unit, the defense, can improve by keeping things a little bit more simple. Here's what he had to say.
You have so many different players and so many things. So many players require certain things. You know, it's like you have to play to the strength of your guys. And you know, we take example of LJ, and I'm just using him as an example because we just talked about him. I got to put him in positions to do what he does well. If I'm asking them to do too much and they're not producing, it's my fault. So yeah, sometimes, you know, my dad used to always say, "Kiss, keep it simple, stupid," and you play faster. So, you know, we're going back to just playing basic fundamental football, keeping a roof over it, playing without leverage. We got to get back to stable tackling. You know, I just looking at the games is kind of, you know, kind of made me furious a little bit. And you look at the games that we've had, the first 2 quarters of football games, we've tackled extremely well. I think we've probably missed a total of 3 tackles in the first 2 quarters of every football game. But somewhere within that 3rd quarter and 4th quarter, it kind of goes away. So is it the focus? Is it the attention to detail? Because it's not an effort thing. They run to the ball. We have to tackle better in the second half because in this game, the explosive plays and the hidden yardage from missed tackles hurt you. And that's our focus. And when we focus on that, the other thing is going to go away. And like I say, from a stat standpoint, I don't like where we are, but I'm not worried about the stats. I know this defense. I know these young men that we have. I know these coaches that we have. I know this defense can get a lot better, and it's going to happen.
So, JT, I'll send you to the chat. What are people saying that they think this team can improve by simplifying things after we heard from Denard and from John?
Yeah, obviously a lot of it's going to be simplifying. It's more of a message. It sounds like falling on the ears for Titans fans to go to the offensive side of the ball, right? Like that's where things need to probably be simple as well. Darius says, but in the grand scheme of things, they do need to simplify things on the offense by getting the ball out quicker. Titans Kyle helping the young guys think less and get back to playing football. Listen, maybe it gets simpler if Kevin Winston just gets out there on the field and can help out.
This week I'd like to Kevin Winston, one JC Latham, and one Tajay Spears, please.
Isn't that crazy? We have not seen Kevin Winston or Tajay Spears yet this year. Like JC Latham either. Like we haven't seen
only the team's best tackle. Yeah, he's just looked pretty good for 2.5 quarters in Denver, and then when we needed him most, he disappeared.
Daniel says simpler route development, so Cam has easy hits. The play progression by simpler play design can improve on 3rd and longs. Cam Ward, I think this offense needs to be 2 tight end sets with more run and play action. This is one where it feels like the Titans may have in their team building maybe screwed up a little bit because of how bad the tight end blocking has been for this team. They don't have a guy. They don't have a Nick Vannett. I think you looked at what they were coming into the season. I guess maybe DMR is their new Nick Vannett, but like Gunnar Helm has not been able to really show anything, even though we've, all preseason, everybody was saying he can do it. He did it at Texas.
I do think he's progressing. Like
he's getting better, but it's
between he and Chig, I think he's already the better blogger.
Yes, but
because the bar is so low.
That's not
no, I know. I'm just still like, I think eventually he can get there, but he's not there. And Chig is never getting there. So you have 2 guys that can't block.
Yeah, and that has hurt the offense. So like more 2 tight end sets to help make that simpler. It's a nice idea, but I don't know if we'll ever get there. Tall Texan with probably the most pessimistic view of the day. Nothing can be done. Everything is smoke screens nowadays, and it doesn't get simpler than that.
See you next year, man.
Less thinking leads to quicker action. Is a good one there. Fewer 3rd and longs because route development on 2nd down took too long and resulted in a sack. Less penalties last game was the team's goal last week. So I think like that is getting simpler, like not making those dumb mistakes. I think is something that becomes simpler as well. Build off run and play action. A lot of the simple, like as it's funny because Denard Wilson is talking about simplifying things, making it easier on the defense. Yet a lot of Titans fans, it certainly seems by the polling the chat here, think the simplification has to come on the offensive side of the ball, which I think is very funny.
Well, and that's where my mind goes too, JT. I've got 3 clips from the offensive coaches we talked to yesterday that I'd like to bring up that I think point to areas where simplification can absolutely help this team. Before we get to those, though, can you tell our friends about the Bone and Joint Institute?
Yeah, the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination. Let's get here.
For comprehensive
orthopedics and sports medicine.
Indeed.
Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust. That's why we trust the Bone and Joint Institute. They have everything under one state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help you recover, whether that's the clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, rehab. They have it all. Don't fumble your recovery. To schedule an appointment, go to boneandjointtn.org.
Powered by BTA Sports, dominating the game. It's better for bettors. Use our link in the description below to sign up for a 14-day free trial. Great analytical tool for any serious sports fans, any serious sports bettors. Check them out, BTA Sports. JT, I do think simplification on the offense. And really, the offense is like, for the most, I mean, there's no element to this team that is blameless this year by any means. Obviously, they stink. Sure. But and the defense, there have been some real problems with finishing games, and that's something that they need to get cleaned up. There have been some real tackling problems. That's something that Denard Wilson spoke to cleaning up there. All told, though, it's the offense that has not carried their weight this year. And in a lot of these games where you go back to the kind of the snapshot of like, well, they were still in it here. They were still, like last week, fourth quarter, it's 6-0. Week 2 against the Rams, they were leading 16-13 nearing the fourth quarter. Week 1 against the Broncos, they were down 13-12 a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter. And then the floodgates open. The offense can't stay on the field. The defense enters their 32nd and 34th and 36th minute of possession for the opposing offense. They've been on the field. They're drained. The tackling goes out the window. Their competitive stamina, as Denard Wilson's talked about, goes out the window. And it's a real problem. So what can the offense do to better themselves? Because that's really what the Titans desperately, desperately need. These clips from Bo Hardegree and Nick Holtz are in response to questions that I asked them about the screen game or the run solution game or whatever they want to call it. These plays that are, in my opinion, too long developing, and maybe too long developing in general, but definitely too long developing for this football team where they're at right now, their level of ability to execute a play. Now, they kind of push back a little bit, I would say, in some of these answers on whether or not it's actually too long developing. We're going to talk about that, but here are their answers to the idea that the screen game can be improved by simply getting the ball in the hands of the ball carrier faster.
Plan. The way we kind of started out the game was quick games, screens, some draws, some things to throw that rush off a little bit, and also get the ball, let Cam see a completion, let him see Calvin catch a ball, get rolling. But yeah, screens it's a highly detailed execution, timing, the accuracy of the throw, the timing, the count of the offensive line. It all works together.
Do you agree with that assessment that some of these are just taking too long to develop? By the time the ball carrier has the ball, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if you go back and look at it, it's more there's a throw here, there's a certain path. The runner needs to be in a certain spot. So again, it's everybody wants one person's off on a screen. It's not going to work.
Here's Nick Holtz's answer to the same question.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that there's certainly plays where we can hit the details, kind of hit them quicker. It's kind of been a little bit of something on each one that's a little bit of a different issue. I think the screen, like we had the screen to Tony on the left sideline, down their sideline, and it's more of a ball placement issue from Cam. And all of a sudden, throw it behind him. Now it looks like it's out of rhythm. So there's other screens and other issues that way where things have popped up, and we just got to be cleaner.
Whatever the issue is, I understand that on some of them it's like, well, it was there, but the ball is in the wrong spot, or the ball didn't come out at the right time, or the ball carrier took the wrong path. Sure. And I know there's a different story for each play. But generally speaking, JT, I know you don't disagree with me. Everyone that I've talked to about this yesterday, I went around kind of asking, like, am I crazy? Am I losing my mind on this? And not a single person disagreed with the idea that this team is calling too many plays that take too long to develop behind the line of scrimmage. Like when the quarterback is under center and then play action, fakes the handoff, turns his back to the defense, and then turns back around and tries to dump the ball out to a guy submarining back towards the line of scrimmage to the seam, and then you're trying to like get your pulling lineman you're doing all of this song and dance behind the line of scrimmage. The ball gets into freaking Tyler Lockett's hands or whoever it is that you're, Chimere Dike's hands at the 2.4 second mark of the play, and you're cooked. It's over. It's clear as day in the moment that this play is taking too long. The offense can't block it up well enough. These receivers, these tight ends in particular, aren't sound enough in their blocking assignments, and they aren't working. They are not working. They're not efficient. They aren't consistent. The only thing that's consistent really is that they're consistently not working when they're taking more than a beat to get the ball in the hands of a run solution ball carrier or a screen ball carrier. So that's something where I'm screaming at them, please simplify this element of your game. I know that you can't just not run screens in 2025. Can't do it. Folks that are like, I hate the screens, don't run the screens. Welcome to the NFL. Have to. Got to do it. Do the different ones. I don't like the ones you're doing. I don't like how long they're taking.
Yeah, I also think that they are kind of being telegraphed as well. I've picked up on that as well, that it feels like the team simplifying your looks and how you get to the screens also needs to be fixed. I think you can see when they are running some of these as well. The defense is just on it from the beginning, and it's becoming a very just like obvious thing for this team that a lot of the plays feel like the defense has the heartbeat of what this offense wants to do. So by simplifying that, getting it back to basics, like that, making things go quicker makes a defense be on their heels. I think simplicity also means you are putting a defense on its heels more than what the Titans are doing right now. And how that happens, I think, is, like you said, a lot quicker. Things need to execute at a higher level and not have as much of this slow designed, things, because you're right. They just don't have the type of guys. I think it worked a lot last year because you did have those type of guys. Maybe we took a Josh Wiley for granted. Maybe we took a Nick.
Whoa. I don't know about all that.
But you get my point, right? We're missing that type of element that can really help out the blocking of a screenplay and the execution, so that it's harder for these defenses to telegraph those type of things.
Yeah, I think some of these play calls just are poor designs generally, and far be it from me to criticize. Like I'm not going to pretend I'm some scheme god, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me. And some of them, it does make absolute sense to me. It feels like a 301 football concept that this team is not. These are freshmen, right? These guys are not even close to prepared to execute at the level that this play requires. And I'd say more often than not, that's how I feel when I watch these plays. They feel like they're taking too long. It's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, but clearly this team can't do it right now. And I understand that may be unacceptable to you in the eyes of the coaching staff, that like these guys have to be better. Yes, they do have to be better. But at a certain point, and there's an insanity element of, if they can't do it, they can't do it. And you as the coaching staff have to change what they can't do. Speaking of things they can't do, there's kind of a flip side to this. And I know Denard Wilson talked about simplifying things for his unit to improve guys' quick trigger, more reacting instead of thinking, helping to fix the tackling issue. And I agree that there's some things that can be simplified on defense. That being said, I think this past week, he actually complicated things a little bit from a scheme standpoint. And I know that the Texans' offensive line is easily the worst the Titans have faced so far. So it made the pass rush look, I wouldn't even say good, just the best it's looked. Like, you got the power of friendship sack from Arden Key and Draymond Jones. You got a near sack from Cedric Gray. You got what was a sack, but then got overruled because of a L'Jarius Sneed penalty by, was that Cody Barton on that one? That I think it was Barton.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, so somebody up
One
the
of the
middle. So somebody blitzed up the middle and got a sack that got overruled, but it was a really nice play by the pass rush. It was no fault of theirs. And then, of course, Jeffrey Simmons continues to be a monster. I think you also saw Femi Oladejo. He didn't. I don't think he got a sack officially recorded, but he
got a hand.
He got a hand. He was pressuring the quarterback in a way that actually was noticeable, which is a step up, frankly, from what we've seen from him. How did that happen? Well, last week we talked to Darren Wilson about how can you, from a schematic standpoint, get these guys better opportunities to rush the passer, because clearly they're not going to win on talent. This group's not winning on talent. So how can you scheme them up better? And he alluded to some vague things that he thinks he can do better to get these guys open. I think the biggest, most glaring example with Femi that we saw from this week is, and we talked about it last week, get Femi looping, man. Get him on some simple looping stunts where, and this sounds so stupid, and I think it was Zach Lyons who originally said it to you and I, but there's a grain of truth to it. Femi Oladejo is unstoppable when he's unblocked. It's like, well, duh, of course. No, but what I'm saying is, if you can find a way to create a lane for the guy to just unload his speed and athleticism on the quarterback, get ahead of steam, and be a heat-seeking missile at the edge position, then he is going to be an actual force in the pass rush game. Where he's not going to be a force is forced to be a technician one-on-one against a tackle on the edge. He's going to beat some lesser tackles and he's going to win some occasional reps because that's the nature of the NFL. But he does not have the technical tool bag right now. As we kind of talked about in the preseason, it feels like at times he doesn't even know what his first step is. You know what I mean? So simplify things for him by complicating the scheme. And I thought that you saw some of that from Denard Wilson this weekend. And that, again, that's just one example for a young guy in Femi who you've got to create opportunities for. I want to play Denard's answer to this question because I asked him about how he felt his changes to the pass rush impacted the team and whether or not he learned some things about his unit that they can roll over to next week. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think we did. I mean, we affected the quarterback. We hit him, especially we hit him early. Guys rushed extremely well. We pressured in spots to get some guys, free. So I think they did that. We had some subtle adjustments of where guys are lining up on the front four, and I think it benefited from us. Benefit from moving guys to different spots. So we gotta keep getting better at rushing. I think it was a game where they had some confidence. They built some confidence, and I'd like to see it transfer to this week.
How did you feel like you learned some things from those adjustments that you can implement going forward about your guys?
Yeah, I think I did. Just knowing guys' best spots right now, where they're most comfortable, and then we did a lot of things to set up guys to get free from pre-snap disguises, looks, and those natures. So we'll continue to do that.
JT, thoughts?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? With Femi specifically, like there are things, it's hard to rely on the talent alone right now. And I think Denard...
You can't. They're not good enough. They are not good enough.
I think Denard is good enough to create a scheme that when it works, it's pretty much like impossible to dissect when he is in his bag. When he is at the top of his game, he can throw so many different looks at you in the span of 6-7 plays that it's really hard for
6-7 plays, you say.
I didn't even mean to do that. But
the funny thing is, based on the age of our audience, I think you and I might be the only ones that understand that ridiculous
potentially,
reference.
Unless anyone has children.
We already got a hard time for not knowing the Wonder Twins yesterday, so this is the other side of that coin.
I guess so. I think you look at what Denard can do over the next, and it also goes for the secondary as well. The secondary needs to have things be simpler for them by making them have different looks. Like Denard needs to start implementing his own type of, I guess, putting himself into the game more by throwing different schemes out there, if you know what I mean. Like implementing his hand into the game instead of having the players just go out there and have to do it for themselves. He's got to put them in positions to be successful because that hasn't happened a lot. I think you look at, his answer on the Snead kind of mishap or whatsoever, like you call it a mishap, you call it, just a downright bad,
Getting torched
disgusting
is how I would
play.
describe it.
Like he even knows, like, yes, it was on Snead, but he needs to have his guys in better positions to make plays. And
Well, the
his
safety
guys,
was supposed to be over the top. It
exactly.
wasn't. So
And he needs to be better in terms of kind of giving his guys the opportunities to have it be simpler.
as Andre says in the comments, Denard can call up whatever scheme he wants, but it doesn't matter when the talent lets him down. We're agreeing with this generally, but what I think we're saying in terms of the simplicity talk is, I think last week you saw some flashes from Denard as a play caller that demonstrated him complicating what's on his plate as a coach in order to simplify things for players on the offense or on the defense, simplify things for folks like Femi, getting them better looks, better reps, saying that he wants to further simplify things for guys like Cherry Snead and the safeties over the top, like making it clear to them what not just what the play call is, but what the intent of what they're doing is, right? The intent is the key. The why is everything. One last thing on the simplicity front before we talk about Cam Ward for a moment. We have a clip here from Bo Hardigree, offensive play caller, on aggressiveness. And this is one last area where, kind of flipping back to the offensive side of the ball, I'm at a point where I don't really understand this philosophy from the Titans coaching staff. I don't really love this. I mean, it's not that I think it's a bad answer. I just disagree with his answer here on choosing to be conservative versus aggressive as a unit on offense. Here's what he said.
You said to be aggressive. You got to go in with a plan, and you got to extend, and that's what you spend all going into. There's a time and a place, depending on the game, depending on the situation, where you want to be aggressive. Maybe personnel space, maybe offense, defense, who we have in the game. But, there's a time and a place for that. But I think you kind of go and stick to your game plan.
I agree that there's a time and a place. I agree that, generally speaking, fans are more aggressive than they should be, because it's easy to want to call for aggression when nothing matters and you're not actually in charge and there's no repercussions. I think that there are, like in this game in particular, choosing to kick the field goals they did when they did, I really don't have a whole lot of issue with those, because it would have allowed them to be tied 6-6 heading into the fourth quarter. Like that, like in a game like this where you knew the Texans offense was bad, you can field goal a Texans team to death. You can. But then in games like the Colts game, where they're trying to field goal the Colts to death, you can't field goal the Colts offense to death this year. And that's an example. I think there was elements of this in the Rams game as well. You have to know, first of all, you have to know when you're outmatched. And there are certain elements of, okay, today we're outmatched. And if we're not, we need to go out swinging or die trying. You know what I mean? We're not going to be concerned. It's kind of like when the Chiefs were at their peak the past couple of years. Every time you'd see a team play them, whenever there'd be a question of kick or punt or go for the opposing team, the broadcast would rightfully talk about, like, well, if you're going to get this Chiefs team, like, you got to hit on these, man. You got to be aggressive. The inverse of that, 'cause that's about playing a great team. The inverse of that is when you're playing any team that's better than you, which for the Titans, it's all of them. You have to, at this point, especially when you're on the ropes, you're 0-4, you feel like your job is a matter of time before it's gone. This team is looking for any amount of spark. I lean towards aggressiveness there. And Hardigree yesterday talked about the trick play calls that he called. I actually don't have an issue with calling them. I have an issue with when you called them, because those are play calls that I like to try when you're needing a spark. My issue was both of them came in the midst of the offense actually doing something well, and that derailed the drives. That's what I have the issue with, not them actually trying those things. I do think this Titans team is officially at an empty the bag, just empty the chamber, get those out there and see what can happen point. You just got to use them at the right time. So aggressiveness in the right time and place, that's a simple fix to me for this offense.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. When I watched that clip, I kind of said to myself, what do you mean that you're going to, like, I agree, you stick to your book, but like, you don't go out there when you're down 26-0 or whatever it was. And you see them not even continue to be like, even look a little bit more aggressive. It felt like they were like, no, guys, it's finally going to work this time. Or this time. Like, we're going to stick to the game plan. as perfect as we can, and it never worked. And there was no adjustment there in terms of wanting to call the plays that were maybe going to push the ball downfield. And that's what continued to let the Houston defense kind of just tee off on a guy like Cam Ward and continue to get that pressure, even though he wasn't sacked a bunch. Like, there was no really, I don't want to say like sense of urgency, because I think there always is a sense of urgency.
But it does kind of feel like that at times.
It does. Like they stuck to their guns a little too much, and they continue to do that instead of kind of, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but like just letting Cam get some of those big type of plays or take shots a little bit more. Like, there's a point in games, like I think early on, where we were saying like, hey, you know, we can't have this all the time. But now it's happening none of the time. And I think there needs to be a healthy balance.
Well, speaking of Cam, that's what we want to talk about to end today's show. Cam Ward about to hit the road to play the Cardinals in Arizona and to play the Raiders in Las Vegas. He has, we've been talking about not quite regressing. I still think regressing is a strong word, especially since it's been only 4 weeks. But the bottom line is that we feel like his Denver performance in week 1 was his best, and his Houston performance in week 4 was his worst. And when you connect those dots, that's not a positive trend. What can he do the next 2 weeks to start to trend back in the right direction? JT, let's go ahead and ask that question in the chat. What's the next step for Cam Ward that you want to see him take on this road trip? He's still a rookie, still taking baby steps. What's one thing that you'd like to see him improve upon these next 2 weeks? We'll talk about your answers in the chat here in just a minute. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Barton Drury Insurance. Cover risk, empower confidence. 615-806-1265. That's the number to call for Barton Drury. They are locally owned and operated, customizing solutions for all of your insurance needs at bartondrury.com right here in Nashville, Tennessee. They're a one-stop shop for both personal and business insurance needs. Austin and Zach here at A to Z enjoyed their buying process with Barton Drury this past fall when they were getting insurance options for those of us employed by A to Z. Their options and plans, responsiveness, the diversity of the options, the experience the service team has, and the level of expertise that they bring to the table to help you understand the insurance that you're trying to buy. All of those things, top notch. They sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and surety bonds. Again, local, and they strive to provide excellent service, but they also want to take the time to make sure everybody understands their insurance policies. So check them out at bartondrury.com.
Yeah, also exciting. We're going to be picking the jersey winner.
That's right.
Soon.
Coming up.
Yes.
You can enter that by calling Barton Drury and letting them know that A to Z sent you. And we are going to be giving away a Titans jersey of somebody's choice here very soon.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. Also, shout out our friends over at BTA Sports. Once again, where insight meets instinct, these guys have the analytical models to back up a decision, whether you have like 2 or 3 parts of a parlay, but need that final one. BTA has the models for you to make sure that you are making a smart bet. Use the code ATOZ in the show description or right below the title to get a free 14-day trial. And then after that, $9.99 a week. BTA, better for bettors.
All right, JT, I'll send you to the chat. What are people saying they want to see Cam Ward do on this road trip? What's the next step they want to see him take to trend in the positive direction?
Yeah, IR Hoshi says he needs to stay in the pocket a little bit more in terms to see some growth. Rooney says, I think he meant quit running backwards, I think is one. Play in structure. That's easy to say, though, with the line being the way it is. Anthony Ham says the mechanics need to be better. Devin Mills says, what's YouTube Cam Ward have to say for himself? And Cam Ward answers, says he needs to get the ball out quicker. So,
good answer.
There you go. Andre says he has to get the ball out faster, and the offensive coaches have to call quick plays. Titans Kyle, get the ball out sooner and also not throw 100 miles per hour on every throw. Needs to learn to feather it better. Improve accuracy and footwork. They go hand in hand, of course, but he's horrific at both right now. Cam is being restricted on throws in the offense, the play calling for one, the O-line, and it goes on. Jonathan says, I'd like to see him consistently get the ball out quickly. I think those are the 3. Get the ball out quickly, get the ball out quickly, not as fast though. Like take
Not as
some of
hard.
that, not as
Yep.
hard, I guess you could say. And then the footwork needs to be improved. For me, Easton, I don't know if that's yours. I think the one thing that Cam really needs to work on this road trip, especially in this upcoming game, the footwork has to be better. The
Mhm.
footwork has, if you want to talk about one place, like I get it, we say regression, like he's not really regressing. The one place where I think he is though, like, or maybe has not made any improvement whatsoever in his very, very short NFL career so far, it is the footwork. And
Right.
if the footwork were to improve, and it needs to improve, I think you see a lot of these other issues kind of melt away a lot quicker.
Well, here's his quarterback coach and new play caller on those things, in particular, his footwork and the receptiveness Cam Ward has to improving in these areas when they're watching it on film.
Well, I'll tell you, the first 4 games, he understands now the speed of the NFL football. He understands the rush. He is getting a lot better at that with the timing, and he's got to continue to grow and keep his fundamentals first, and get the ball out on time, the timing, the rhythm, the accuracy. It all goes together with his footwork. It's all tied in with that. There's a time and a place where you got to make a play and you got to get outside the pocket, and he's done a great job doing that. But he's just got to screw in, get the ball out, make an accurate throw. Sometimes they're going to be a little tighter, and just keep the offense going down the field, which he's doing a better job of that.
I spoke on primetime last night about how, I guess I'll take your word for it, man, because I've not really seen it. The idea that he understands the speed of the game after these 4 games. This is super simplistic, but it's really like I don't think it's an oversimplification. His time to throw figure keeps going up each and every week. I want to see that come down. That's all. That's these next 2 weeks. I want to see his time to throw figure start to trend back in the right direction, the negative direction, technically. Because if he's getting the ball out faster, this offense is going to function better. That it is going to help the offensive line. It is going to inherently, I think, lead to more throws from in structure from Cam, because if he's doing things out of structure, that's taking more time. I think that when he's out of structure and goes into street ball mode, that's when he innately starts to lose his footwork and those fundamentals start to go out the window. So again, quicker passes, I think, are going to naturally come with some better footwork within the structure of his drop and within the structure of the pocket. And I think that if the ball's getting out faster, that also means that the play calling is lending itself to quicker developing plays, quicker developing routes downfield, quicker developing screens and run solutions behind the line of scrimmage. I think that it really is as simple as the next step is to make this offense faster. Make it faster. Make it a little simpler for Cam, right? Because the simpler it is, the faster you can get the ball out. And put him in situations that I think are going to promote, not fix entirely and not overnight, but promote good habits, not bad habits. So that's what it is for me.
And to that, I say, I just hope that Bo Hardigree can do that, right? Like be able to work on the footwork, but also now be responsible for getting the faster play calls out. Like I hope that, and this is kind of my worry all along when Bo was named the play caller, that these things with his footwork, and once again, I agree with you that when he says he understands the speed of the game, I think that's a lie. But you hope that he's able to continue to work on these things with Cam while still having the ability to find the right play calls that will make him successful. And I think that starts this week with a 2-game road trip that we touched on it a little bit yesterday, but I think one of Brian Callahan's answers on the Monday morning press conference was pretty telling. Like, if you go back to what Cam has had to face, I know we talked a lot about how, the preseason process was to get him up to speed against some really exotic looking defenses and types of things like that. And yes, they weren't showing their full cards or what they had to offer, but it still was a little bit of a challenge. But then even past that, you look at the defenses that he's had to go up against these first 4 weeks. Some of them we knew were going to be as good as they were. Some of them, like the Colts, I think were a surprise that a lot of people did not see coming. And now you finally get a chance to where I have a good feeling or have more confidence that these defenses are not going to surprise a team like the Titans, right? The Cardinals have some young pieces. They have some nice secondary pieces, but not anything that, it's no Stingleys or anything like that, right? It's not a
Nope.
lot of these veteran guys who have been around the block for more than 30
You're worried about old man Josh Sweat. Like that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about in Arizona.
I do think as much as Calvin Ridley deserves the criticism, I think he can go toe to toe with a guy like Max Melton, even though I think Max Melton is a dog. Like,
I mean, if he can't, then we've got
then
real
that's very
problems.
telling.
We got real
But
problems.
you get what I'm saying, right? They don't have a lot going for them on the offensive or the defensive line or in the secondary. They have some good pieces in the I guess the linebacking core, Buda Baker and all those guys playing that hybrid nickel type role is where they may be able to get after Cam. But like even the Raiders, like outside of Max Crosby, they haven't looked the best,
No.
certainly.
No.
So I think this is going to be an easier test for Cam. I think kind of going back to that analogy, he's been taking those 400 level courses tests the first 4 weeks and even back into the preseason. And now you get to go back to basics. You get to do some, maybe some multiplication tables and keep it simple instead of doing like college level calculus or something like that,
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that's good stuff. I think it's time for us to get to some sports trivia because that was a good show. And I think that about wraps it up. But first, JT, can you tell our friends about the new deal, the development this morning from our friends over at Window Nation?
Yes. Well, the new deal is the same deal. Why let a good thing die, right? I think that's the big message here. Window Nation, once again, you can save big as well this month. Buy 2 windows and you'll get 2 for free. Make no payments for 2 years and you won't have to deal with monthly payments, a down payment, or interest until 2027. Once again, when that new Nissan Stadium opens, that's when you're going to have to pay for your windows if you want. Whether you have old drafty windows or cheap builder grade windows, now is the best time to replace them. I know Austin, wherever he is, even though he is MIA, maybe, he got windows and then disappeared. So I don't know.
He
what
needed
that
a whole
means.
week off for Windows,
Yeah,
which is
but-
crazy to me because Window Nation installs them in a day or less. So I don't know what he's doing.
This is true. But he got his windows and I'm assuming he loves them because he needed them badly, as he told you guys time and time again. Protect your home ahead of the fall and winter weather that hopefully is coming soon.
Please.
Get replacement windows from Window Nation. You can call them at 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com.
BTA Sports, better for betters. Dominate the game with BTA Sports. Link in the description to sign up for a 14-day free trial on us. You're going to love it. I promise. Download the app today, BTA Sports. And with that, JT, let's get into some sports trivia.
Hold on. We do have one super chat to get to.
Excuse me. By all means.
From Ryan Fields. He says, imagine a defense with Landry and Abdul Carter. We fumbled.
Harold Landry, you can't convince me he's that was a bad decision.
He
was awful last year. He was awful.
Abdul Carter, though.
Not awful. Turns out when Abdul Carter when you don't play him at stand-up linebacker, he's pretty good. When you play him at edge.
This is true.
Yeah. Take notes, Giants play colors. All right. Now some sports trivia. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process at wilsoncountyhyundai.com or in person in Lebanon. JT, I have the dozen.
Oh, you do? Oh, you're doing it. Okay.
Well, yes, I am. If you can find the overlay for us.
Yes, I got you.
Share my screen and we can hit it. All righty. We've got your precious Major League Baseball on here. We've got some college football on here. Orlando setting our over-under at 4.5, which is higher than the Titans' current win total on some books. I'm surprised it's not all books. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Correct.
You guys know the deal. We're going to need your help. We're going to set a land speed record today.
I hope so.
Not just clips shown in one episode of the morning show, but also speed with which trivia has been done. I believe in us. JT, are you ready?
Yeah, and I think Ann says she's ready. Will she kick butt this week like she did last? I don't know. Only time will tell.
We need you. Here we go. NFL.
Go.
Sam Darnold spent a year as the backup quarterback for this NFC team in 2023 before his features 10 years in Minnesota and Seattle.
Right?
Carolina, I thought.
No,
Wasn't
'cause
it?
he was with Shanahan, and that's what, the bump, right? Right before
Oh, was it
Minnesota?
Carolina then Shanahan?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think you're right. I think. Was Darnold in? Yes. Yes.
Using both.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. That's the right timeline. Good call. The most populated U.S. city that begins with a V is this city, whose name contains the state it resides in.
Um, Virginia Town. I don't know. Virginia
Virginia
Beach?
Beach?
Maybe?
Is that the most populated city?
That starts with
Starts
a
with a
V?
V?
No, no, I guess Las Vegas doesn't start with a V.
Maybe it is Virginia Beach. See, it is an option. All right, we're gonna try it.
Yeah, let's go
Nice.
with it.
Good
Okay,
call.
cool.
While Melissa Joan Hart played the same character in the 90s and 2000s, Kiernan Shipka has the leading role in this Netflix supernatural horror show from 18 to 20. Am I dumb? Is this Buffy? Supernatural horror show? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if it's Buffy.
I thought that Netflix
Isn't there
did a
another one?
Buffy remake of some sort. So it's Sabrina. Sabrina
the Teenage Witch.
Yeah. It's the right. I feel like I had the right genre there. Oh, okay. I don't know what it was. Then. I don't know. Chat, figure that out. Rodney Dangerfield played a wealthy but uneducated man who joins his son in attending college in this 1986 comedy featuring Burt Young, Keith Gordon, and Robert Downey Jr. Huh? All right, old heads, we need you. We need you.
I got nothing on this one.
Back to school? Sure. It's an option. Jeff's saying it's just Sabrina. Is that right? Okay.
Maybe there's a different title, I guess.
Maybe,
Yeah.
I guess. This woman is part of a Grammy-winning pop rock band with her sisters Danielle and Esta. And she's starred in Paul Thomas Anderson's films Licorice Pizza and One.
I don't know her name. I know her last name. It's Haim.
Yeah, what is her name?
I don't know her name, but it's Haim. I don't know what her first name is.
Well, let's
just
Alana Haim.
Is it the only one that comes up?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. Founded in 1879. Anyone around for that? The classic version of this brand of Swedish vodka comes in a clear bottle with its name in bold blue letters. Svedka, right?
Is Svedka Swedish?
I don't know, but it's vodka and it's in big blue letters.
Yeah, I guess.
Or is it Absolute? That Svedka sounds Swedish. Absolute does not. I'm trying Svedka. Nope, I'm an idiot. Cool.
Damn.
During the 2023 wild card round, Royce Lewis hit 2 home runs in a game to help this American League team end an 18-game postseason losing streak.
It's the Twins, Minnesota.
Good call. Wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, Orlando says Svedka is Russian.
That's, you know what? You're definitely right about that. This Illinois running back won 2007 Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year before becoming a Steelers draft pick. From Illinois to
college football fans, help us. I got nothing on this one.
I don't know who this is.
Steelers draft pick. Mendenhall?
Mendenhall? Okay, that's the right era for sure.
Rashad
Mendenhall. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, well the guy is definitely Penn Badgley, right?
Yeah, I know you hair when I see it.
That's right. And the girl I recognize, who is that? I'm gonna know it when I hear it because I recognize her face. Chat. Kiernan Shipka? No, I don't think that's Kiernan Shipka. Anybody know? It's not Harry Styles. The Breaking Bad girl?
Breaking Bad girl.
Jesse's girlfriend from like season 3? No, I don't think so.
I think Anne is saying that because she mentioned her earlier.
Anne Hathaway?
Anne Hathaway?
That's not Anne Hathaway. It's got Anne Hathaway's like mouth shape, but it's the wrong eyes and eyebrows. Dadgummit. Who is this? Miley Cyrus? Negative. Does nobody know?
I got nothing.
I don't even know what to like guess just on a whim. Like, what should we even say?
Should we just go Anne?
It's not Anne.
Kristen?
Let's try. Let's see if somebody Kristen shows up. It's not Kristen Bell.
The girl from Marvel.
The girl from Marvel. Whatever. Screw it. Yes, double dip. What did we
Which
think
one
this
do we
was?
want?
Sabrina?
Yeah, Sabrina.
That's not even an option.
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Okay, let's go back to the vodka. People think it's absolute. That's fine.
Okay.
Cool. What were these answers? Nobody got the celeb mashup. Look at that.
Damn.
Or the TV one. That's crazy. It was Kiernan Shipka?
Wow.
Yo, who do I owe an apology to? Is that Ann?
Anne.
Ann.
Anne.
Ann.
Oh my God.
Ann, listen, you got to forgive me, Ann.
That's crazy.
I was wrong. You were right. That's crazy.
That's
wait,
crazy.
so where was Shipka mentioned? Yeah. And it was the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Okay. Huh.
Damn.
Ann, I'll never second guess you again, Ann. I'll never do it. Yes, trust the lesbian on naming hot women. And we will learn. We will learn.
We will never
Never
Cam
doubt Ann.
Ward. Anne knows her women.
Clearly, she is the resident expert on women. So we will refer to her.
Land
from
speed
now on.
record turned into an obstruction of traffic ticket.
What have we missed 3 and it took us how long? 5. Oh, that is a shameful day.
Hey,
Luckily,
we'll be
we have
back
tomorrow
though.
to make
Tomorrow.
up. That's right. We'll be back tomorrow. JT and I once again, and then Austin apparently we'll believe it when we see it. We'll make his return on Friday. Buck Rising prime time tonight. We're gonna have thoughts from Brian Callahan today at a press conference. We'll see if any of the Titans' questionable players are back on the practice field today. Not always an indicator one way or another on Wednesday, but it would be certainly a positive thing for Kevin Winston or JC Latham or Tajay Spears, any of these guys, if they are back in full capacity today in practice, that'd be good news. So keep an eye on that. JT and I will be we'll both be at the facility covering it. Until tomorrow, we'll talk to you later. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.